Then I was afraid to wait any longer. Talk to me, Keith, I said. I really want to know. How did you survive when you first went out there? His smile this time was less evil. Maybe the food had mellowed him. Slept in a cardboard box for 3 days and stole food, he said. I don't know why I keep going back to that box. Could have slept in any old corner. Some kids carry a piece of cardboard to sleep on so they won't get right down on the ground, you know. Then I got a sleep sack from an old man. It was new, like he never used it. You stole it? He gave me a look of scorn. Wait, you think I was going to do something? I didn't have any money, just had that gun. Mama's 38. Yes. He had brought it back to her 3 visits ago, along with 2 boxes of ammunition. Of course, he never said how he got the ammunition, or how he got the replacement gun, a Heckler & Koch 9mm just like Dad's. He just showed up with things and claimed that if you had the money, you could buy anything outside. He had never admitted how he got the money. Okay, I said. So you stole a sleep sack, and you kept stealing food? It's a wonder you didn't get caught. The old guy had some money. I used it to buy food. Then I started walking toward LA. That old dream of his. For reasons that make sense to him alone, he always wanted to go to LA. Any sane person wouldn't think to be 20 miles separate from that oozing sore. There's people all over the freeway coming away from LA, he said. There's even people walking up from way down in San Diego. They don't know where they're going. I talked to this guy. He said he was going to Alaska. God damn, Alaska. Good luck to him, I said. He's got a lot of guns to face before he gets there. He won't get there. Alaska must be 1,000 miles from here. I nodded. More than that. And with the hostile state lines and borders along the way, but good luck to him anyhow. It's a goal that makes sense. He had $23,000 in his pack. I didn't say anything. I just froze, stared at him in disgust and renewed dislike. But of course. You wanted to know, he said. That's what it's like outside. If you got a gun, you're somebody. If you don't, you're shit. And a lot of people out there don't have guns. I thought most of them did, except the ones too poor to be worth robbing. I thought so too, but guns cost a lot. And it's easier to get one if you already got one, you know? What if that Alaska guy had one? You'd be dead. I sneaked up on him while he was sleeping, just sort of followed him until he went off into the road to go to sleep. Then I got him. He led me away from LA though. You shot him? The nasty smile again. He talked to you, he was friendly to you, and you shot him? What was I supposed to do? Wait for God to come and give me some money? What was I supposed to do? Come home. Shit. Doesn't it even bother you that you took someone's life? You killed a man? He seemed to think about that for a while. Then he shook his head. It don't bother me, he said. I was scared at first, but then after I did it, I didn't feel nothing. Nobody saw me do it. I just took his stuff and left him there. Besides, maybe he wasn't dead. People don't always die just because you shoot them. You didn't check? I just wanted his stuff. He was crazy anyway. Alaska. I didn't say any more to him. I didn't ask any more questions. He talked a little about meeting some guys and joining up with them, then discovering that even though they were all older than he was, none of them could read or write. He was a help to them. He made their lives pleasanter. Maybe that's why they didn't just wait until he was asleep and kill him and take his loot for themselves. After a while, he noticed that I wasn't saying anything, and he laughed. You better marry Curtis and make babies, he said. Out there, outside, you wouldn't last a day. That hyper-empathy shit of yours would bring you down even if nobody touched you. You think that, I said. Hey, I saw a guy get both his eyes gouged out. After that, they set him on fire and watched him run around and scream and burn. You think you could stand to see that? Your new friends did that? I asked. Hell no. Crazies did that. Paints. They shave off all their hair, even their eyebrows, and they paint their skin green or blue or red or yellow. They eat fire and kill rich people. They do what? They take that drug that makes them like to watch fires. Sometimes a campfire or a trash fire or a house fire, or sometimes they grab a rich guy and set him on fire. Why? I don't know. They're crazy. I heard some of them used to be rich kids, so I don't know why they hate rich people so much. That drug is bad, though. Sometimes the paints like the fire so much that they get too close to it. Then their friends don't even help them. They just watch them burn. It's like, I don't know, it's like they're fucking the fire and like it's the best fuck they've ever had. You never tried it? Hell no, I told you, those guys are crazy. You know, even the girls shave their heads? Damn, they look ugly. They're mostly kids then? Yeah, your age and maybe up to 20. There's a few old ones, 25, 30. I hear most of them don't live that long though. Corey and the boys came in at that moment. Gregory and Bennett excited because their side in soccer had won. Corey was happy and wistful, talking to Marcus about Dorothea Cruz's new baby girl. Things changed when they all saw Keith, of course, but the evening wasn't too bad. Keith had presents for the little boys, of course, and money for Corey, and nothing for Marcus and me. This time, though, he was a little shamefaced with me. Maybe I'll bring you something next time, he said. No, don't, I said, thinking of the Alaska-bound traveler. It's all right. I don't want anything. He shrugged and turned to talk to Corey. Monday, July 20th, 2026. Keith came to see me today just before dark. He found me walking home from the Talcott house where Curtis had been wishing me a very happy birthday. We've been very careful, Curtis and I, but from somewhere or the other, he's gotten a supply of condoms. They're old-fashioned, but they work, and there's an unused darkroom in the corner of the Talcott garage. Keith scared me out of a very sweet mood. He came from behind 2 houses without making a sound. He had almost reached me before I realized someone was there and turned to face him. He raised his hand, smiling. Brought you a birthday present, he said. He put something in my left hand. Money. Keith, no, give it to Corey. You give it to her. You want her to have it. You give it to her. I gave it to you. I walked him to the gate, concerned that one of the watchers might spot him and shoot him. He was that much taller than he'd been when he stopped living with us. Dad was home, so he wouldn't come in. I thanked him for the money and told him I would give it to Corey. I wanted him to know that because I didn't want him to bring me anything else, ever. He seemed not to mind. He kissed the side of my face and said, "Happy birthday," and went out. He still had Corey's key, and although Dad knew he'd had it, he hadn't had the lock changed again. Wednesday, August 26th, 2026. Today, my parents had to go downtown to identify the body of my brother Keith. Saturday, August 29th, 2026. I haven't been able to write a word since Wednesday. I don't know what to write. The body was Keith's. I never saw it, of course. Dad said he tried to keep Corey from seeing it. The things someone had done to Keith before he died. I don't want to write about this, but I need to. Sometimes writing about a thing makes it easier to stand. Someone had cut and burned away most of my brother's skin, everywhere except his face. They burned out his eyes, but left the rest of his face intact, like they wanted him to be recognized. They cut and they cauterized and they cut and they cauterized. Some of the wounds were days old. Someone had an endless hatred of my brother. Dad got us all together and described to us what had been done. He told it to us in a flat, dead monotone. He wanted to scare us, to scare Marcus, Bennett, and Gregory in particular. He wanted us to understand just how dangerous the outside is. The police said drug dealers torture people the way Keith was murdered. They torture people who steal from them and people who compete with them. We don't know whether Keith was doing either of those things. We just know he's dead. His body was dumped across town from here in front of a burned-out old building that was once an old nursing home. It was dumped on the broken concrete and abandoned several hours after Keith died. It could have been dumped in one of the canyons, and only dogs would have found it. But someone wanted it to be found, wanted it to be recognized. Had one of his victims' relatives or friends managed to get even at last? The police seem to think we should know who killed him. I got the feeling from their questions that they would have been happy to arrest Dad or Corey or both of them, but they both led very public lives and neither had any unexplained absences or other breaks in routine. Dozens of people could give them alibis. Of course, I said nothing about what Keith had told me he'd been doing. What good would that do? He was dead, and in a horrible way. By accident or intent, all of his victims were avenged. Wendell Parrish felt called upon to tell the police about the big fight Dad and Keith had had last year. He'd heard it, of course. Half the neighborhood had heard it. Family fights are a neighborhood theater. And Dad, the minister, after all. I know Wendell Parrish was the one who told the cops. His youngest niece, Tanya, let that much slip. Uncle Ward said he'd hated to mention it, but... Oh, I'll bet he hated to mention it. Damned bastard. But nobody bucked him up. The cops were nosing around the neighborhood, but no one else admitted knowing anything about a fight. After all, they know Dad didn't kill Keith. And they knew the cops liked to solve cases by discovering evidence against whomever they decided must be guilty. Best to give them nothing. They never helped when people called for help. They came later, and more often than not, made a bad situation worse. We had the service today. Dad asked his friend Reverend Robson to take care of it. Dad just sat with Corey and the rest of us and looked bent and cold. So old. Corey cried all day, most of the time without making a sound. She's been crying on and off since Wednesday. Marcus and Dad tried to comfort her. Even I tried, though, the way she looked at me, as though it had something to do with Keith's death, as though she almost hated me. I keep reaching out to her. I don't know what else to do. Maybe in time she'll be able to forgive me for not being her daughter, for being alive when her son is dead, for being Dad's daughter by someone else. I don't know. Dad never shed a tear. I've never seen him cry in my life. Today, I wish he would. I wish he could. Curtis Talcott sort of hung around with me today, and we talked and talked. I guess I needed to talk, and Curtis was willing to put up with me. He said I should cry. He said no matter how bad things had gotten between Keith and me or Keith and the family, I should let myself cry. Odd. Until he brought it up, I hadn't thought about my own absence of tears. I hadn't cried at all. Maybe Corey had noticed. Maybe my dry face was just one more grudge she held against me. It wasn't that I was holding back, being stoic. It's just that I hated Keith at least as much as I loved him. He was my brother, half-brother, but he was also the most sociopathic person I've ever been close to. He would have been a monster if he had been allowed to grow up. Maybe he was one already. He never cared what he did. If he wanted to do something and it wouldn't cause him immediate physical pain, he did it. Fuck the earth. He messed up our family, broke it into something less than a family. Still, I would never have wished him dead. I would never wish anyone dead in that horrible way. I think he was killed by monsters much worse than himself. It's beyond me how one human being could do that to another. If hyperempathy syndrome were a more common complaint, people couldn't do such things. They couldn't kill if they had to, and bear the pain of it or be destroyed by it. But if everyone could feel everyone else's pain, who would torture? Who would cause anyone unnecessary pain? I've never thought of my problem as something that might do some good before, but the way things are, I think it would help. I wish I could give it to people. Failing that, I wish I could find other people who have it and live among them. A biological conscience is better than no conscience at all. But as for me crying, if I were going to cry, I think I would have done it back when Dad beat Keith. When the beating was over, and Dad saw what he had done, and we had saw how both Keith and Corey looked at him. I knew then that neither of them would ever forgive him. Not ever. That was the end of something precious in the family. I wish Dad could cry for his son, but I don't feel any need at all to cry for my brother. May he rest in peace, in his urn, in heaven, wherever. At the end of the program, it was announced that KSF was looking for registered nurses, credentialed teachers, and a few other skilled professionals who would be willing to move to Olivar and work for room and board. The offer wasn't put that way, of course, but that's what it meant. Yet Corey recorded the phone number and called it at once. She and Dad are both teachers, both PhDs. She was desperate to get in ahead of the crowd. Dad just shrugged and let her call. Room and board. The offered salaries were so low that if Dad and Corey both worked, they wouldn't earn as much as Dad is earning now with the college. And out of it, they'd have to pay rent as well as the usual expenses. In fact, when you add everything up, it's clear that with the 6 of us, they couldn't earn enough to meet expenses. It might work if I could find a job of some kind, but in Olivar, they don't need me. They've got hundreds of me at least, maybe thousands. Every surviving community is full of unemployed, half-educated kids, or unemployed, uneducated kids. Anyone KSF hired would have a hard time living on the salary offered. In not very much time, I think the new hires would be in debt to the company. That's an old company town trick. Get people into debt, hang on to them, and work them harder. Debt slavery. That might work in Christopher Donner's America. Labor laws, state and federal, are not what they once were. Maybe Olivar is the future, one face of it. Cities controlled by big companies are old hat in science fiction. My grandmother left a whole bookcase of old science fiction novels. The company-city subgenre always seemed to star a hero who outsmarted, overthrew, or escaped the company. I've never seen one where the hero fought like hell to get taken in and underpaid by the company. In real life, that's the way it will be. That's the way it is. And what should I be doing? What can I do? In less than a year, I'll be 18, an adult. An adult with no prospects except life in our disintegrating neighborhood. Or Earthseed. To begin Earthseed, I'll have to go outside. I've known that for a long time, but the idea scares me just as much as it always has. Next year, when I'm 18, I'll go. That means now I have to begin to plan on how I'll handle that. I wonder if there are people outside who will pay me to teach them reading and writing, basic stuff, or people who will pay me to read and write for them. Keith started me thinking about that. I might even be able to teach some Earthseed verses along with the reading and writing. Given any chance at all, teaching is what I would choose to do. Even if I have to take other kinds of work to get enough to eat, I can teach. If I do it well, it will draw people to me, to Earthseed. All successful life is adaptable, opportunistic, tenacious, interconnected, and fecund. Understand this, use it, shape God. I wrote that verse a few months ago. It's true like all the verses. It seems more true than ever now, more useful to me when I'm afraid. I finally got the title for my book of Earthseed verses. Earthseed, the Book of the Living. There are the Tibetan and the Egyptian books of the dead. Dad has copies of them. I've never heard of anything called a Book of the Living, but I wouldn't be surprised to discover that there is something. I don't care. I'm trying to speak, to write, the truth. I'm trying to be clear. I'm not interested in being fancy or even original. Clarity and truth will be plenty if I can only achieve them. If it happens that there are other people outside somewhere preaching my truth, I'll join them. Otherwise, I'll adapt where I must, take what opportunities I can find or make, hang on, gather students, and teach. I got one more for you guys. There was just a lot I found fascinating in this particular part of the book.
Yeah, real quick, the PS5 is going to go in rest mode in a minute.
Oh no, the PS5 is going to fall asleep. Actually, Jacob, say hello to everyone while I grab the PS5 controller. Folks, those were all excerpts from Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower.
Y'all, there's a geomagnetic storm happening in the Northeast right now, and there's lots of really cool pictures. I'm going to put them up closer. Look at this stuff, y'all. Look at these pretty pictures. If you live anywhere near the Northeast, you should be outside at some point. Really cool.
A geomagnetic storm, you say?
Yeah. My stepsister isn't seeing it because she lives in a small city in New Hampshire, but they're getting it up in New Hampshire right now. And seeing it down in like something George, New York? St. George, New York? So, if you can see it, you should check it out. Really big one. Once in a lifetime.
All right, I'm going to bring it home with this one last reading, and then we'll do a brief little chit-chat about what we're doing tonight and get back to that Death Stranding 2. We got to get back in contact with our friend Neovana. But first off, why won't he go to Olivar? He thinks the way that your father does. He thinks Olivar is a trap. He's read about 19th and early 20th century company towns, and he says no matter how great Olivar looks, all we'll get from it at the end is debt and a loss of freedom. I knew Harry had sense. Joe, I said, you'll be of age next year. You could stay here with the Baders until then and marry, or you could talk your father into letting you marry now. And then what? Go join the street poor? Stay and stuff more babies into that crowded house? Harry doesn't have a job, and there's no real chance of getting one in anything that pays money. Are we supposed to live on what Harry's parents earn? What kind of future is that? None. None at all. Sensible. Conservative. And sensible. And mature. And wrong. Very much in character for Joanne. Or maybe I was the one who was wrong. Maybe the security Joanne will find in Olivar is the only kind of security that's to be had for anyone who isn't rich. To me, though, security in Olivar isn't much more attractive than the security Keith has finally found in his urn. I picked a few more lemons and some oranges and wondered what she would do if she knew I was also planning to leave next year. Would she run to her mother again, frightened for me, and eager to have someone protect me from myself? She might. She wants a future she can understand, depend on, a future that looks a lot like her parents' present. I don't think that's possible. Things are changing too much, too fast. Who can fight God? We put baskets of fruit inside my back door on the porch, then head for her house. What will you do? She asked me as we walked. Are you just going to stay here? I mean, are you just going to stay and marry Curtis? I shrugged and lied. I don't know. If I marry anyone, it'll be Curtis, but I don't know about marrying. I don't want to have children here any more than you do. I know we'll be staying here for a while longer, though. Dad won't let Corey apply to Olivar. I'm glad of that because I don't want to go there, but there'll be other Olivars. Who knows what I might wind up doing? That last part didn't feel like a lie. You think there'll be more privatized cities? She asked. Bound to be if Olivar succeeds. The country's going to be parceled out. Damn, yeah. Bound to be if Olivar succeeds. The country's going to be parceled out as a source of cheap labor and cheap land. When people like those in Olivar beg to sell themselves, our surviving cities are bound to wind up in the economic colonies of whoever can afford to buy them. Oh God, there you go again. You've always got disaster up your sleeve. Those are assorted readings from Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower, chapters 9 through 12. We've been reading Parable of the Sower as part of our program here at Technopoverty, where we read books as an excuse to play video games as an excuse to read books. We're going through Death Stranding 2. Hi, I'm Henry.
I'm Jacob.
And napping over there is little Barney. Jacob's got some tea brewing, and you know what? We've been working through Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower as part of our Fall into the Future program. We read Nevil Shute's On the Beach, which is where Death Stranding 2 gets its subtitle On the Beach from. Let's just pull the game up right there. Also, hi chat, hello. I got really caught up in the reading. Thank you for being here, Mask for Mask, and AR Berlin, and Kirsten.
Yes. I'm so excited to read that cool
Josh.
ham radio rabbit story from what I've seen so far. It's really cool.
I just want to bring up, so Parable of the Sower, all the stuff we read today, it's a fictional book written in 1993, imagining the world of 2025. Let me know how you feel about what it's getting right and wrong in the excerpts I've been picking up. I'm going to turn on the Death Stranding audio now. Do not freak out. Let us know if anything's too low, not high enough. Oh yeah, Jacob and I did a super sweet Ghost Riders in the Sky mini side quest right at the end of our session last week. That was extremely sick.
That was so fucking cool.
Also, happy MLK Day to everyone.
Yes, to all those who celebrate.
I want to say everybody celebrate. Everybody look very hard because you got to really scrutinize the chodes out there who are going to be like, remember what Dr. King said is a means of nonviolent protest, so you should kneel down to ICE agents. Don't do that. Don't fucking listen to him. He had a whole nother set of things beyond just the I had a dream speech. Look into his ideas on an economic bill of rights. Mm-hmm. There's a reason he was getting the attention of the FBI after, the whole Civil Rights Act stuff. He saw the bigger growing issue in America, and you know what?
He's trying to call people out on some stuff.
Thinking of King and Malcolm X, and a fixture of thought I think of here is the Rainbow Coalition, Fred Hampton, the MOVE bombing in the 80s, 1993, the time Parable of the Sower is coming out around. I'm thinking of Rodney King. Jacob, do you remember how you found out about the Rodney King thing? Because I was a very small child. But I remember the comedian Sinbad had a bit where he brought it up, and I was just like, "What's the Rodney King tape? Like what? I don't like. What is this joke in this rather sanitary, family-friendly black man's comedy routine?"
Yeah.
That was a very interesting motive. But what I'm saying is, like, there's an interesting, consistent trend worth looking at and questioning why it's consistent. Why are we still playing this game? Why are we stuck in this time loop?
Yeah. Why must we insist on reliving everything in our life?
Also, for all the bullshit that's going on, what's up, Sleepy Zane? Thank you for being here. I just want to bring up the other day, Radio Free Multiverse ran a fundraiser for the Immigrant Legal Defense Fund in light of all the shit going on around us. I'd definitely say if they have that VOD up on their Twitch to go check it out. They had some great interviews with some great people on the ground out there in California. I actually want to talk with Lux about...
Oh, hell yeah, like getting to chat with somebody.
Something Austin side we might be able to do more localized. I love supporting my friends online.
Yeah, and thank you for
yeah, Mass for Mass. They raised over $3,000. I didn't get to stay for the whole thing, but when I saw that, because I had to wake up super early, I saw that on the Discord though. I was just like, hell yeah,
dude, that is awesome. Money going towards a good cause that we all believe in. Oh yeah, what up, Sleepy Zane?
But yeah, speaking of MLK, we might do something in the back half specific to him.
Yeah. I forgot what tea this is. To where? Oh, ultraviolet. Do a red tea. Kicking off with a red tea for those teeing along with us.
All right, I believe I have to go up to the Magellan for the next story-driven mission, and the Magellan is just right up the mountain here.
I also need my headphones if I want to like hear what's going on there.
Yeah. You got enough reach on those? They look a little constrained over here.
Oh no, I have it on there. That way we don't accidentally have.
Okay.
Oh, actually, that's why though. But I need it constrained on the other end.
I do gotta say, we watched On the Silver Globe this weekend on the TechnoPoverty Discord, and one of the most baffling movies I've seen in a moment. Complimentary, extremely complimentary, but. Holy shit, what did I watch?
You're just like, what am I watching?
It's a Polish film so it started filming in 1977, but then the government shut it down, and it didn't complete until way later in 1987. And when it came out, it was still unfinished, but there's huge segments of it where you got the director just with some B-roll and some narration explaining what would have happened, but they ran out of budget or like they couldn't get it done. So there's chunks in the movie where he's just explaining like bridges. It's really cool.
Interesting.
No, but even with like what it's directed, I was so like lost in a good way. Like it was so wildly confusing because everybody was speaking so extremely poetic. I was like, is this the translation? Is this the language? Is this like an intentional, like, are they supposed to be overwrought? How sincere am I supposed to be taking this? There's a bit of language barrier going on.
Yeah.
But like, so despite the dialogue being like that, it's very clear what's going on throughout the movie. So I'm like, well, what, like the dialogue itself being a prose poem, what am I supposed to read out of that in comparison to the events watched? Also, a lot of it looks like Death Stranding, and I guess I'll start there.
Oh, that's cool.
On the Silver Globe, as I said, Polish, 1987 official release, started filming in 77, took forever to release. The government shut it down because its ideas were dangerous, which bewildered me for a little, and then by the end I kind of think I understood why. Although I couldn't tell you what the fuck the actual, cause the characters speak in such purple prose, and like, I'm not sure what's internal motivation and like what's external, like, interpretation, like.
Yeah.
It's not like they're like lacking in an internal psychology. I don't really care about the choices they're making because, like, okay, the movie looks awesome. First off, it looks extremely just. The story is about a group of. It takes place on a faraway planet. It opens on two what appear to be astronauts living among a tribe of indigenous humans who have a completely different culture than the two astronauts. And a satellite crashes onto this planet, and you can kind of gather from context clues that this isn't Earth, and these two astronauts are like humans, and maybe the indigenous people are like aliens of some kind.
Yeah.
But they bring them the satellite that crashed at the beginning. They see a satellite crash at the beginning of the movie. They bring it to these two humans, and the humans crack it open, and there's a videotape inside. And so they go into like their wrecked ship, and they look into a videotape, and it's like the history of this planet. And apparently, way, way long ago, a gang of humans used a shuttle to escape from like a really fucked up dying Earth or whatever. It's a little unclear what condition Earth is in, but these guys escaped it. And they crash landed on this other planet where they couldn't breathe. They had to like modify their spacesuits to punch holes in their necks to breathe the atmosphere. But there's only, so the spaceship crashed on this planet a long ass time ago. There's 4 surviving humans. There's no one else on the planet. Like the aliens you see in the opening, they're not there in this flashback segment. There's no one there. It's just 4 humans, 3 men and a woman. Roaming the planet for a bit. The woman falls in love with one of them, starts having a sexual like affair. I don't want to say affair. It's not like she's cheating or anything. They just start having sex.
Yeah, gotcha.
Then an unseen like attacker kills the father of her child, and it just leaves the dude. It leaves a dude eventually, and then another dude dies off. It leaves it to where it's just one guy who's not like the guy who's having sex with that lady and her kid. But the kid can breathe the atmosphere, and also he's growing up really fast.
Weird.
And then the guy and the woman have a child, and the same thing happens. They can grow up. They're like faster, more durable humans to this environment, and so it starts compounding. And you start realizing, like the alien race you saw in the opening is this tribe, this dude and this lady sired. It's very Adam and Eve like in the way they father a whole race. They parent a whole race. I don't know why I say father. There's a mother there as well. Okay.
I
So,
managed to learn a few more things about Nevil. You may remember that he was a porter contracted by breaches. That's what we told you before. Since then, I received a mail.
Another one from our very own Hardman.
The end. I'm not getting the audio. I'm writing the dialogue in the background.
Whoever they are.
They are almost certainly someone
There
on
we
the
go.
inside. Someone with access to the UCA's administrative systems.
I think he just wanted to stay in combat forever, is my interpretation here. Like, that's where he found his peace, in action, without, like, in.
Fighting.
Can you please explain?
Like, bro loves his treadmill, you know?
Sufferers, including
So my uncle was like
Sam
that.
Bridges. She was your therapist.
Neil.
And your
That's my
partner.
interpretation of Neil so far, Sleepy Zane.
Lucy?
Or my guess.
Neil Vanna's name was on our client list. Right there in black and white.
Like, Sam transforms
crazy.
from one thing to another.
also
Neil,
uncovered
like,
photos,
stays just, like, transforming, or, like, in that state of nirvana. Like, in combat. Like, God, that fucking underwater fight was so good.
Yeah, the
They
shit was so
perished in a
cool.
void out which claimed an entire city.
Ouch.
A void out in use
To
for
watch this well.
Lucy
Ooh.
was pregnant at the time.
My bad boy.
Ooh, that smells nice, too. Okay. Was Neil the man who delivered Sam?
The child she was carrying. She straight up told me to my face. I never had any kids.
Don't pour that one. It's really good. Real good red.
She was just my shrink.
Right, Sleepy Zane, he's just like Michael Bay in that sense. I actually think Michael Bay's got some interesting shit going on in that regard. I'll talk more about it after this scene. I did turn my voice slightly down and the game slightly up. Any luck with the audio?
Yeah, I'm just
Oh, okay.
hot boy. Spice little man.
I'm a warm boy today.
Bernie.
Sam, this is Charlie. A new assignment has been entered into the system. You've been asked to go and connect the metagenolysis to the network. Access the chronobiologist delivery terminal to find and undertake this main order.
Hey, Fragile.
Huh, you can hear them. Am I going to interact with them? Let's see. Did I trigger a scene when I did that? chat earlier.
You really don't remember me.
I know. Someone was talking about their dream journal, though. And I had a silly story about that.
That woman just now.
Is that, yep.
That
Lucy.
Why we got that hat every time.
she was your therapist, wasn't she?
I love when I woke up in the water with it, yeah.
Right.
Thinks she was your therapist, eh? All right. All right, I gotta get to the chronobiology. Actually, can I just travel there? I'm already here. I see a question in chat. What's Mass for Mass saying?
Okay, is that why you paired this with Parable book, fellas? Because in the next one there's a Make America Great Again moment too. I think it was closer to Reagan inspirationally, but still real fuck to see that everywhere, lol.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the way that is part of why I chose Parable the Sower. I wanted to pair Death Stranding 2 with some like future forward sci-fi. I actually think I'm gonna run out of books. I picked up a collection of solar punk shorts as well. But I have Parable the Sower and Parable the Talents because from what I understood, they are that kind of like constructive minded sort of like how do we get through this sort of thing more than just a wallowing in it sort of thing or a solipsist hero narrative. And I've been enjoying that as what I was reading at the start here, which let's take this mission and I'll talk a bit about what we read through recently on Parable. Oh shit, where? To where? Damn. Good thing I have all that road built. The timefall resistant emu?
Fuck yeah.
Oh shit.
Crikey.
Do not submerge the emu. Well, the good thing is the
You go around
road.
it, yeah.
Yeah. See all that investment.
But why can't we submerge the emu? Is this like Gremlins rules? Like it just does it become like a crazy?
Actually, fuck. I have no drive. So I could probably drive all the way around on the road, but why want to drive over this? Maybe it looks like there's a mine because it looks like I can drive up this way. Oh, actually, no. Yeah, I can drive up that way and not worry about crawl. Let's do this. Okay. What I need though is I need a big ass truck. Is my thing. Also, I have a lot of. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of these.
Emu emergent monsters underwater, absolutely, Josh. Yeah, but only if it feels good to do. With the emu's consent, I'm just saying this like. We don't even know. Maybe this emu likes it. It's kind of like those cats that like going and taking baths. You know, you can't say like all cats don't like it. There's a couple that like it. That's all I'm saying.
What? Oh?
What?
Yeah, we're trying that out.
More than made these days?
Yes, that is crucial. Okay. We have to try out the self-driving cars.
Yeah. Again, the only Australian slang that I know from at least going on 10 years ago was flass. I was feeling pretty flass today at work, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh no.
But you know, that's work.
So when we last saw the Parable of Sower, Lauren, our 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, now by the end of our segment today, 18-year-old protagonist, you know, lives in a gated community, but the gates are weak. Children playing too close to him get shot. She's decided she's going to run away. She believes in God, but not her father's God. He's a local pastor. But they're kind of stuck in a like a suburbanite retreat. Something interesting to me, Jacob, is you were watching the classic 90s film The Faculty with Elijah Wood, Josh Hartnett, and all them.
Goddamn right I was.
Robert Rodriguez directed The Faculty. And there's a sort of, you know, 90s suburban dream-like quality to its you know, its locations with where the kids live. Like they live in this like ideal like high school 90s life. Like Josh Hartnett has a cool fucking shack in his parents' converted like 3-car garage where he gets to make his drugs.
Yeah.
I bring up
cool chemistry.
Yeah, I bring up that detail in specific because the 3-car garage is also like an explicitly referenced detail one of Lauren's neighbors has in Parable of the Sower, and it really just reiterates how much what you're supposed to be imagining is like the 90s kind of sitcom life, just like in decay by 2025 in this story, you know.
Damn, like you used to want a treehouse to like camp out in, but now you live in the treehouse.
Yeah, now you have a neighborhood
animals.
watch, right?
Yeah. Because the 90s American suburb, at least like through commercial media, is a very specific like. It was nothing like reality, but it was like in the minds of everyone, kind of like.
Also,
well, yeah.
think of like how like Home Alone, Castle Doctrine type, like Mighty Max, like the home is the fortress type mentality there was in a lot of the pop culture. Like even like the Burbs in the 80s.
Yeah.
Started a bit of that like paranoia of everybody in their own castle kind of staring at each other.
Right. Also, the CIA has like black sites inside of like suburban
I'm just
houses,
totally going the wrong way here. I did not need to go into this river. I'm a very smart driver.
Yeah. There's everyone in that movie. Clea Duvall and Jon Stewart. Man, and I've worked with two actors from The Faculty, which is wild.
The Faculty. No, but so like last time I brought up that her brother Keith, he's, as she says, like he wants to grow up fast.
Yeah.
He stole the keys to the gate and kind of snuck out. Got jumped, didn't come back for a few days, showed up beat up, somebody stole the keys, so everybody's paranoid now because like robbers have a means of getting in. And what do you know, they do start getting in. There's a horrible incident where you know, some dudes just walk in through the gate, break into a house. For some reason, the alarm doesn't go off, and they just kind of crowbar an old lady in the kitchen before the family can wake up and
Jesus, yeah.
gun them down. While it is very much a book that has this kind of horror happening, I don't know, there's something I like to also the vigilance of the neighborhood watch and like the practical kind of like this is how to watch out for each other since that there is building in this neighborhood. Again, because Butler's aim is to like kind of get into this community-minded sense, and Lauren is trying to find a progressive, like meaningful way to make sense of the world and move forward in like this horrendous collapsing environment. It's a book that uses that violence in punctuation with some very it creates a contrast so that the highs feel high. You know what I mean?
Got you, yeah.
Yeah. What am I? Sorry, I've been rounding out the book, and it's like, I have some lost cargo for this guy, but I need to go actually grab the emu, which I totally missed, because I need to get out and box it.
As you are wont to do with emus.
But I bring this contrast up because I would say at a time like this, while bad things are happening out in the world, I am seeing a lot of cool community-minded stuff happening on social media. And there is sort of a confidence game going on where I think the bullies are starting to realize like they're shaking a bit at the loss of face in a way that has accelerated, I guess.
Oh yeah.
I'm again just thinking of that absolute dumbass who slipped on his ass and broke his butt on the ice, and everybody calling him a pussy and laughing in the neighborhood, and that just being pretty damn funny.
Yeah, that one officer who was like cut off from the rest of his group and had to be saved by the other team.
Some neo-Nazi dude was doing like sick hails and shit at some protests and also got like crowd rolled. That's pretty funny.
That's pretty great.
But I bring that up to say, you know, there are constructive and proactive things you can do in the dark times. And again, Radio Free Multiverse's immigrant legal defense fund telethon really reminded me of that. I want to remind you that there's, you know, local probably organizations in your area doing mutual aid, abortion funds, food pantries, your local DSA, if they're effective, check them out.
Yeah, local Lions clubs too are really good.
I'm not familiar with that.
Donating, they do a lot of stuff with blind and hard of hearing folks. A lot of cool donation things. It's really, really good. At least whenever we did it in New Hampshire, that's what we did. Also, any old folks' homes, just hanging out and chat with old people is always a fun thing. Really, community outreach to any. Just talk to neighbors.
Where is this emu?
In the middle in the forest.
Food Not Bombs, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think they were like labeled a terrorist group in Austin or something.
That's dumb.
Yeah, there was some dumb thing that they were, a group like them or like them was labeled as something obviously stupid.
Okay, I did need to cross the river. I don't... Ticked for serving food? That sucks.
Yeah, they do that shit. Yeah, man, fascists don't
Put them in your stop the bleed vid. Nice. Alright, let's focus on finding this emu. But yeah, keep in mind, look for bail funds if people need it, or legal defense funds, not, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel you can't make it out or risk visibility, losing a job or something, just look for something you can donate to, or perhaps...
Mm-hmm. Martial arts and self-defense too. Those are really fun groups and usually a great way to do both exercise, getting into a community, and self-defense is never a bad thing.
Yeah. Don't be Johnny got his gun about. Not
Yeah.
Johnny. Don't take your guns to town, son.
Yeah, exactly, no.
But self-defense.
Self-defense is good in general.
yes.
Like, fascists don't stop because you say please.
Yeah, there was some footage I saw of like dudes in Minneapolis doing neighborhood patrols with their guns that like right wing were freaking out about, and it's like it's just their Second Amendment, bro.
Yeah, like your Second Amendment. And weird how ICE didn't really want to hang around the places where people were hanging out using their Second Amendment.
This is the spot where it was last seen. Emus are awfully fast. This search may take a while.
Yeah, agreed, Sleepy Tan. It's always a good time. But
Yes. Extremely frustrating situation to watch.
Yeah. And it's also made to be this way. Like, the people doing this are putting themselves on camera and putting it over all of social media. Like, we are meant to see it and feel
They
exactly how
know
we're-
not
like,
to go in front of cars like that.
Yeah, like, everything about this is, like, they know
Unless.
it. Yeah. So,
I've kind of come to the feeling that after the I'm not mad at you, when he's like going around the car, he was just going to keep circling until he found an excuse to start pulling that trigger.
oh, yeah. Yeah, it's self-defense. Like, people who have guns want to use them.
Right.
Like, you don't get a thing
if
to
you're
not
a hammer,
use it.
everything's a nail. Yeah.
Yes, very much so. As dumb as it is. And of course, you have the fucking stupidest people getting hired to do it.
Oh, I didn't realize it had these like boost legs
Yeah,
on.
Josh's dick got blown clean, smooth off.
Sam, it's Efri Jepstein. We'd like you to connect Zorro Ranch to the chiral network. Zorro Ranch, what's that? I don't know, look it up.
Actually, don't. Just bring the stuff. Also, we're missing a box. A box? Yeah, can you find a package? Okay. Is it... What am I looking for? Just don't worry about it. We're missing something. Yeah, Sam is on the list, but not for the reason you think.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the list, guys.
I want to wait until more because I don't want to get too tinfoil hat into like a lot of the alleged stories. But that story that potentially may explain why Trump is incontinent and wears diapers.
Oh, I absolutely
Very
do.
funny, yeah.
There is. I'm going full tinfoil hat because it's literally more connections have made a lot of other things make sense, or like
Yeah.
is something that has been heard.
The thing is, I say I'm not going tinfoil hat, but it's also like it's not that far removed from just the reality of what we've already known and what evidence is out there and written down. Like these are people who testified to like the courts about this shit.
Yep.
Oh man. Oh shit.
Wait, Zane, what link you want? We'll try to get you a link. I'll get whatever link I can get you.
Don't make sense of it. Maybe the thing you sent me earlier the other day about the Zorro Island stuff. I think it was like on X, Twitter, or whatever. Elon Musk's CSAM machine.
Yes. Oh, Zorro Ranch lady? This lady?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like...
Or the story about the dude who,
Oh yeah, the Sasha Riley testimony is wild.
Sasha Riley, yeah, that's the name. Look up the Sasha Riley testimony.
Yeah. I mean, like, you don't have... It is a very... For someone who has listened to a lot of crazy things, like, it is hard to hear. So, you know, very big trigger warning if you don't like absolutely awful, horrible, wretched things done to children.
Just general sexual bad stuff.
Yeah.
Heads up on.
Yeah, sexual violence, just all of them horrible, bad things. But
Oh, there's like a huge flood going on here.
it's coming from a fairly reliable source and just a lot of other things.
You know what? We're just gonna take the road. We're just gonna take the road. I want to try out this new auto driving feature. I don't want my emu to get wet, you know?
Yeah, Josh Rober, I think it's a little bit of all of the above, honestly.
What's Josh Foreman saying?
On one hand, believe the victim. On the other hand, this testimony is so wild that it sounds like the kind of nonsense that QAnon was spouting about Hillary's secret baby blood drinking, and also the testimony of a lot of
Yeah.
satanic panic. Since I have no idea how well vetted and corroborated this guy's testimony is, I can't tell if it's getting traction because one, it's completely unhinged horror story.
Or, yeah, if it's
two,
just,
political
like, too
weapon.
good to not.
Three, More inclined to listen to people with other stuff now that Frankie's multi-parter on the Franklin scandal. Yeah, like everything, all this stuff goes back to like Franklin scandal stuff, which is why I'm like, I have no doubts about these kinds of things because this has been corroborated. And also with the Franklin scandal is the only mystery that like Unsolved Mysteries or America's Most Wanted could not figure out. They were put at a dead end. Okay? Literally, the most money on this, and they could not get past with this mystery. It was like related to Johnny Gosh. Like, so, there's a lot of people who want to keep everything quiet. But yeah, but the other thing, like, things are made to sound crazy because you want people to be like, wow, that person's insane. I can't believe that people would do that.
So yeah, this brings me around to like the whole like don't let this distract you from the Epstein papers. I don't think like they're not trying to distract you from the Epstein papers anymore. I think if anything, if there's any kind of if anything, there might be a sort of like hyper exhaustion intent at play with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you have horrible, extremely salacious, like, sexual stuff going on there, and then you do the ice cruel stuff, and then you just volley back and forth between notching up the ratchet on both to keep people looking both ways while, you know, you're split down the middle fucking kids and still in elections.
Oh, yeah, totally. Well, it's like, I mean, we had something very similar with, like, Jimmy's...
Yeah,
Jimmy
exactly,
Savile.
exactly, EJ. Thank you for being here, first-time chatter.
What up, EJ? Yeah, it's not a distraction. A bunch of awful stuff is just happening at once. I mean, it's both.
It's all compounding.
Like, yes, a bunch of awful stuff is happening, and some people are using that as a distraction from other horrible things they're trying to cover up. But it's like, it's also just like decades and decades upon all of this, too. Like, if this has been going, I mean, if you want to go, Operation Paperclip, the board's like, let's go back to us being like, maybe we should have these Nazi scientists. Like, if things just get worse, you know, it's just going to get worse and worse. If
What
you do
did
nothing to
David
make it
Lynch
better.
mean when he had the Trinity side as the birth of evil?
Yeah, what could that possibly mean? Hey, Master Mouse, I have the Bone Temple in my watch list. I heard the Jimmy character is based on Jimmy Savile something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like what they did with it because in theory in that universe, Jimmy Savile didn't die. And like you didn't find out what a monster he was. So then the character becomes it's great. We love it. It's a great one. But yeah, Franklin Scandal, for folks who haven't heard of, is very trigger warning, similar stuff in Sasha Riley. See Doom Room VODs for more info.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to watch more of it because, like, yeah.
The Doom Room VODs on Business Brain are also very good and I think worth exploring to kind of consider what's going on psychologically in the culture right now. Mm-hmm. There's an article I shared on the Discord called like Politics is Fan Fiction, where it's like talking about like the right wing, look at us, we're fulfilling the roles. Like you're supposed to be gawking at them for being like big boys doing the big boy thing and being like the big boy president. Like they're fulfilling the role on TV.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're the ones who make the awards and then give themselves the awards, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that means nothing.
I was going somewhere with that, but I have to check my route.
That's fair.
Oh, but yeah, that idea, it feels interesting to me, like that Business Brain strikes it as well, where like they're making businesses that do ultimately hurt the bottom line because they want to flex the power of like, well, this is what a big CEO does, or this is what a decision maker or a shot caller would do. Take the authority, take the initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah, participation trophies, exactly, Master Mask. Like, that's the thing, that is the underlying firmware of America. It's like, American politics is just fan fiction by America, set by economic political oligarchy. Like, I mean, economic oligarchy. Like,
yeah. Trophies themselves
well, like,
are
we did
participation
this thing because,
awards.
like, the righteousness of it.
Yeah. Also, the people bitching about participation
exactly,
awards are the ones who
same.
gave us participation awards, you know?
Yeah. All right, we took the safe way around. Let's
I'm pretty sure I see a bunch of veterans wearing their fucking Vietnam hats all the time, and like I don't say nothing about losers.
Boom, boom, boom. This seems relatively safe. Let's go.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's from us.
Something talking about like the whole how trustworthy or skeptical or how insane or schizophrenic the internet's making us because we're watching something we want to believe is real, but we're also paranoid about. A lot. I don't know if it's just because they just start popping up my algorithm, but like especially like on Instagram, I'll see a lot of like videos of like Black Panthers doing neighborhood defense actions and stuff like that, and to an extent. Yes, cool. To another extent, why am I seeing more and more just like, dude, well, I know it's a valid response to ICE. It's just, I don't know, I'm also paranoid at the same time that like, I don't know.
Well, the algorithm's pushing it to you too. Like, what is the true volume versus what is being pushed to me?
Also, this pop image that may not reflect the people on the ground of like actual like neighborhood and community defense actions versus like this image being pushed of like, yeah, go take your guns on the street, agitate cops, being used to like instigate like police actions.
It's both and. EJ, you are not wrong about the participation trophies thing. But I was already mistrustful of any compliments anyways, so fucking beat them at their own game.
That paranoia thing especially seems to me like comedy. Alright, let's deliver this email. Let's deliver this email.
Yeah, that's nice. The good ones leave comedy,
Yes, we saved the animal. 0% damage.
Also, you need to be a personality hire in some other place that'll really appreciate you and also pay you.
So get back to Parable really quick. Lauren's brother, the one who got jumped, lost the keys, his parents give him a BB gun for his 13th birthday, and it just makes him think he's hot shit. He really likes the BB gun. He starts disappearing from the neighborhood, and people are just like, what's going on? He scares the shit out of his parents. And eventually he gets to the point I was reading for you at the opening of this episode where he's out there robbing people. He's out there doing crimes. He doesn't tell anybody in his little suburban neighborhood, but he's, he can read and write. And out there in the urban world, outside of the little suburban fortress they're in, that's a valuable skill. He's helping criminals learn how to use things they steal because they steal shit, they flip it, but they can't read it. They don't know how to use it. They don't know how to set things up. Oh yeah, Captain Quasar, welcome and agree.
Yeah. Yeah, that shit's wild. Why are people giving, Trump their Nobel Peace Prize? What the fuck,
Or why does he even want the prize? Why does he even care? That's the thing about not just Trump, but the whole reactionary impulse to well, I'll get my revenge and be the most popular one, and I'm going to do that by undermining and destroying the whole structure which defines what is popular in that sense I'm aspiring for.
Yes.
Same reason you tell stories of brownies not balding.
I mean, fuck yeah.
Perfect. We added more space to the chiral network, and we got a capture grenade.
Hell yeah, guys. Zora Ranch is getting the adrenochrome pumping, y'all.
Oh. These are specifically for the whales, and you throw it down their throat? Okay.
Whoa.
Noted.
Alright. Maybe gambled on that on the poly market. Yeah, maybe.
But eventually, Keith's crimes catch up to him, as I read in the opening, and they have to go identify his body downtown. Now, even worse, with Keith missing, dead, his keys stolen, the neighborhood's even more susceptible. Things are falling apart. And I find it interesting if we're going on kind of like a plot scale of escalating bad things happening. It's like the bad thing happens and a worse thing happens and a worse thing happens.
The rising action?
Yeah. Sure, getting your brother getting into crime, shot, killed, etc. That's bad. But then the bigger monster comes along, and it's private equity. The town I was reading about in the excerpts, Olivar, it's like the coastal zip code next door to Lauren's neighborhood, which is, very black and Latino and not coastal, so it's not prized by businesses in the same way.
Not yet.
Not yet, but yeah, Olivar is going to become a company town, and that's kind of what I was reading about in those excerpts as well. Ooh, no, my ceramic's destroyed.
Yeah. I gotta catch up because this book sounds...
And the thing is, people in Lauren's neighborhood start applying for jobs in Olivar because it's right down the road, and they have stronger defenses and they have stronger security so that they can just shoot people invading,
People love that. I feel safe
this
here.
This is my grenade pouch. And that kind of is something that starts fraying the neighborhood more than the already invading thieves and, Keith's friends. Also, Keith was kind of, because he was doing work for these gangsters, he was kind of keeping his neighborhood protected. But then when he dies and he's made enemies, his enemies know where that neighborhood is. So, this is why Spider-Man wears masks.
Yeah.
This is why superheroes are supposed to wear masks, even though, Disney, being the weird white privileged company it is, doesn't understand this and has eliminated it totally from their superhero movies.
But Ice wears masks for a different reason, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's because they're fucking embarrassed about what they're doing, and they're just fucking cowards. Cool. Got my thing.
All hooked up at last. And wow, I was able to finish my analysis of the emu you brought me in an instant. Turns out it was absolutely riddled with parasitic chiral microbes.
Dang, Josh Foreman coming in with some truth
Their
bombs.
presence was enough to alter the emu's temporal flow, which is probably why it didn't grow older when exposed to
Yeah.
This all confirms what the chronobiologist has been saying. Hosts for these chiral microbes are subject to the timeless influence of the beach. It's still unclear how this might be related to extinction entities, but it's a vital clue for solving the mystery of the Death Stranding. An extinction entity.
Nice tip mask for
The
mask.
last stranding.
The Last Stranding.
Yeah.
The end of humanity itself is assured.
Yeah, you want really good eyewear and stuff like that. You don't want plastic in your eyes. Man, also that mesh network stuff, that was something I really wanted to get into. I know Christian Tickers was talking earlier, getting into ham radio as well. And I posted in the Discord some of this stuff with both. Captain Quasar is asking how far into the book you are.
Chapter 13 is what we are stopped at right now. I'll tell you a bit more about it because there's a little bit more that happens. Okay, she's just telling me about the grenades.
Yes. Next time you're able to inflict significant damage on a large BT, try tossing it. Not only will you neutralize your foe, but you'll find it also leaves behind. I've taken to calling these objects BT crystals. I say that because if you understand, the BT crystal will react with the tar and transform into a variant of the BT you
It's like a fucking Pokemon battle?
Yeah. Summon a variant of the BT that spawned it, which will emerge from the depths of the tar. Ordinary large BTs will perceive this variant as a critical threat and proceed to attack on sight.
Whoa. This puppy.
Oh, Barney's over here being adorable, Chad.
Creatures that resemble smaller animals like rats and spiders.
I'm very curious how this works, Sleepy Lane. I'm gonna try to use it.
Tinier. They're parasitic by nature and favor hosts from the world of the dead. They're just an amazing discovery all around. The final missing piece I needed for my research. In recent days, large BTs have been growing more active in the... It's possible that this too could be... If you're headed that way, you would... Though that might also be a good opportunity to get those EX captured. And if you're interested in some additional work, I'd also like you to take the emu you brought.
Yes, I will.
I'll look after it, and I don't have the proper... I posted a sub... There's no rush. You can pick it up from the... Thanks again.
Do some side quests, deliver this emu, and then we might take a break. I didn't realize it was already 8:50. This is going very fast.
Damn, really?
I did read a lot from Parable at the start.
For sure, but even still.
Which can be found near the southeast shore of the lake close by.
Been delivering this emu. I did deliver light side packages too. Again, we do have something in the back half when we come back from break we're going to do in regards to Martin Luther King Jr.
Another request concerning
R.I.P. King.
rescue has also caught my eye. Alternatively, you can undertake this upward first if you wish. Not even up
You
to
know who
yourself.
else was into an economic bill of rights and playing with the idea of universal basic income? Richard Nixon, weirdly enough.
Who turned him against it? Man. Oh, Master Master got a Beifong, no license, but technically a broadcast license covers family households quite broadly. That's really cool. I really want to get into ham radio, and I think
Ooh, there's some cool
Christian
words
Ticker's kind
here.
of reinvigorated me wanting to do that as well.
Oh shit, yeah.
Whoa, Mask, I have not seen the classic Jabuki tweet on this day. At least I don't believe I have. So please link.
Oh, this is a very easy one. Straight to the animal shelter.
Josh Foreman, I don't understand how UBI and universal healthcare are divisive at all.
Right?
Like, I do not understand it.
Like if we invade and take Greenland, like do they just lose their bennies? Like there's like congratulations,
the
you're in
funniest
America.
thing.
Like it's like
You're $100,000 in debt.
yeah, yeah.
Just instantly.
There's 3 credit cards.
Pizza Hut pizza. Here's a Little Caesars hot and ready.
All right. So, Lauren's brother's dead. Her neighborhood's falling apart, the security's shaky, the people who can get away are moving to the company town next door, and her father goes missing on the way home from work one day. I don't know where her father is. This is where we've left off. They've been searching for her father. They've found other dead bodies, but not his. So there's that, at least.
So potential hope?
He's potentially alive out there, but it's been a while. They can't find him. And the last spot I left off in the book, they have a gathering at her house, the neighborhood, and it's not a funeral, because he's not dead. Nobody calls it a funeral, but everybody's working really hard to not say that out loud, that they're eulogizing him at this get-together.
This happened to talk about.
Yeah, they're all just
a lot.
talking it out a lot. And amidst all this, Lauren kind of takes the podium and she gives a sermon, stepping in for her father because he's missing and everybody needs to be comforted. And The thing about her sermon is she's very much talking in uncomfortable terms about the dangerous shit they're facing and dealing with on the ground in very realistic, sober. She's just saying this is what we're dealing with. And she starts talking a bit about her own feelings and ideas that she's been a bit afraid to express around her parents. But her father's missing. Someone needs to step up and kind of rally the neighborhood. And so, without even realizing it, she gives a sermon and everybody really likes it. And for the first time in a while, she feels kind of positive about this idea she's been thinking about, this earth seed idea, this practical, pragmatic, and active interpretation of God.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very curious what happened with her father, though, considering how many horrible fates have awaited other characters in this book.
What the fuck?
Very interesting. Yeah, there are some creatures that just live out here by the animal shelter. I'm not sure what their deal is. Sometimes they're gold, sometimes they're not.
Oh, gotcha. That's a different version of these guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
But also,
they're horrifying but cute.
I barely cracked into the surface of what the fuck On the Silver Globe's about. Spaceman. Space woman. Earthlings crashed on another planet. Father a whole race on said planet. Maybe the only race on the planet. It eventually gets to the point where the first dude who crash land, because he ages slower, he's super old, and there's just a whole tribe of his offspring, and some of them don't even understand him or believe he's real or believe Earth's actually a thing.
Hello again. I heard about what happened. I'll assess the condition of the bird right away.
And one day, some dudes go and sail across the sea, and they get attacked by monsters. And only one of them survives, comes back, and warns the rest of the tribe. And it freaks the old guy out, and he runs up to the top of a mountain and sends a broadcast back to Earth. That's the first part of this movie. There's two parts, basically. That's the first half of this movie, explaining how these people running away from some sort of shitty conditions on Earth crash land, accidentally birth a whole race of beings on this otherwise desolate planet, and then it becomes a weird mythological religious cult thing, and then they find monsters across the sea. You don't see the monsters, but they find monsters across the sea. There's some kind of bird monsters, apparently, from what we're told.
They were getting too close to the truth.
Too
That's
close
why
to
this
the
movie
truth.
was shut down.
Yeah. Again,
Okay.
the Polish government shut this film down because it was too politically radical. And as I explain what's happening in part 2, it may make a bit more sense. But I've explained this plot very conventionally, but as I tell you, everybody's speaking very poetically. Here's another thing. This may be the first found footage movie?
Really?
Because... So they find the video in the little crash satellite and they're playing it back, and so you're watching a moving camera that's doing a lot of first-person stuff, as they're wandering through the desert and stuff. It's like the onboard video journal of the ship that they're talking throughout this whole
Captain's
thing.
log shit.
Yeah. Until the end when the dude's super old and he just tells them hey, okay, this has been my testament of what happened here, singing it off to Earth.
Yeah.
So it has some conventionally shot shots, and then other times it switches into very first-person perspective style shit. I believe we want to go back here, right? So let's take this order and get back there. Yeah, let's do this express order.
First found footage Italian flick about cannibals. I hadn't heard,
Okay.
but intriguing.
Cannibal Holocaust. True, I think.
Yeah,
when did Cannibal Holocaust? What year's Cannibal Holocaust? Because so the thing is, this was shot in '77, but it didn't come out till '87 because it was shut down and unfinished for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Captain Quasar 1980. So I guess Captain Quasar, Cannibal Holocaust hit theaters first, but this had technically been shot in '77, even if it hadn't been completely edited and distributed. That's so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen. No, I haven't seen Cannibal Holocaust. I think I've seen Last House on the Left, which I may be mistaken with it in my brain. But yeah, I bring it up because it's so wildly kinetic how much this camera is being swung around and dragged around, and I mean it's a sci-fi concept on a low budget, but they have these very sparse, like Death Stranding looking astronaut suits, and they're in like canyons and valleys and desert, and
Hell yeah.
yeah, it's some cool looking shit. I'll tell you that. Also, like, they have very distinct costuming when they become like the native aliens with like the indigenous culture and such.
Oh, cool.
I say native aliens, but they're all humans. They're all humans is a big part of it.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that they've like made their own ecosystem and environment and kind of like survive in this weird way. But yeah, you start seeing how like the generational gaps turn the youth against the elderly in some ways that maybe it's criticizing like the idea of youth culture, youth fetishization.
Interesting, yeah.
But by this point in the movie, I was still very much like, how is this politically subversive?
Gotcha. I think it's just about religious subversion of just like, oh no, we can't talk about the creation of flame.
Well, the thing is, here
got some
comes the
ideas.
second part of the movie, where another Earth person lands, having heard the SOS signal the dude sent out right at the end there. And he discovers this tribe. And the tribe thinks he's a messiah to their religion because he came from space. And the thing is, enough time has passed since the old man died and this dude arrived that the bird monsters have taken some of the women across the sea and birthed these like new hybrid monsters. And now there's a war between these bird hybrid sons and these space mutated humans.
The non-fathers.
This is the war. This astronaut lands in the middle of this intergalactic war, and they're like, "Oh, you're Luke Skywalker. Come save us!" Like,
Man, some things never change.
and he's like, "No, I'm just a dude from Earth, but like, I'll help you." And this is where the movie really got interesting to me. There's this big stage battle where the bird monster hybrids land, and the humans are there, and they clash on the battlefield. And the thing is, like, this may be the first time, okay, this is one of those things where I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm interpreting this right, but this may be the first time they've ever actually fought these things. Like, you realize, like, oh, they've just been scared of these things, but I don't think they've actually fought them. Because, like, the dude just is like, okay, let's go get them. And with some real basic fighting, they collapse. They fucking collapse. And he's just like, why are you so fucking scared of these things? Like, what? Like,
Yeah.
I think you guys were just kind of helpless. And, like, it creates this weird animosity where they're like, okay, well, maybe he's not the Messiah, even though he just saved us in this way. And he's like, well, maybe you guys need to, like, stand up for yourselves and do X, Y, and Z. And they're like, well, maybe you need to quit fucking disrespecting our religion. And they're all like, you didn't come to rescue us. You ran away from Earth. Like, they all get in this petty fighting about like interpretation over like the political like will and meaning of all this shit. And it just like, yeah, it's pretty funny, and it's also extremely weird coming after like 2 hours of just like, wait, the space war and like the space Adam and Eve. Like, it's really fucking like I'm like, I think I understood the movie more than I realized I understood it, but at the same time, I'm like, a lot of the dialogue, I have no clue, legitimately. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm so dumb. It's like, I'm just kind of have to surrender to the poetry of the thing in a way.
Yeah.
But eventually it gets to a point where they just stone him, and that's the end.
Fuck, that's
They're like, this guy's challenging kind of our preconceived political like superstructure in a way. We're just like, we were fine with making him Jesus, but Jesus won't shut the fuck up about like changing our ways in ways we're not cool with. So like, let's just stone him. Like, we just fuck him. Like,
we don't need this guy.
yeah, exactly. You've won the lottery. Exactly, Master Mass. Like, hey, buddy, guess what? You're the Sin Eater. That's a cool title, right? You like the sound of that, right?
Doesn't that sound awesome?
You are Jesus Christ. Don't mind what happens to Jesus at the end of it all. Just like, it's cool. Like,
just have this
we're gonna
delicious,
write-
bountiful meal before.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like RFK. I saw a post where RFK Jr. was eating a steak with like candles in it. Like, I don't know if it was his birthday or whatever, but it's like that's shit you do for like a dog before you have to put it down.
Yeah, dog, that's old Yeller treatment.
Yeah.
Dog, are they gonna kill RFK Jr.? Guys, are they gonna do it?
Is something going to happen?
Is something bad gonna happen to him?
You know what? We were going to do the raw milk thing, but then our lawyers advised us we should just make it whole milk, and then we had to do a lot of like, whole milk is back, and people just thought we looked very stupid, Robert.
Sorry, I
We're
would
very upset with you.
I would fucking pay money to see Donald Trump drink raw milk, a glass of raw milk on television, and not cut away for 5
Right.
minutes after.
You know, typically I give him shit for this moment, but Obama did drink the Flint water.
Yeah, he did, dude.
Like, and I fully believe it was a stunt, you know? Like, I don't think that was the real Flint water at all.
You know,
but
for a
like,
fact it was.
Trump wouldn't even try to stage that shit. He's too scared. Also, I'm stuck on this rock. God damn it. This is not cool, man.
Come on, man.
Oh, I almost had it there.
Long Knives Part 2.
I'm...
Right, he just orders other people to do stunts. That's his stunt. Talk about Greenland for some fucking reason.
All right, let's see. Let's do this again. Sure, I got my route. Oh, did I not complete this order? Or I guess it saved before I completed the order? Weird.
Sir, your Domino's is ready?
Yeah.
Large Hawaiian.
The driver was just hotboxing for 15 minutes. And I just phoned before he got out of the car.
Fucking Sam on his phone drops it. Oh, fuck. Ah, damn it. Ah. Like the bun. God damn it.
God damn it.
So fucking mean.
Oh, now I can't tap the next order.
Uber on the moon.
Ooh.
Ooh, touch it.
You know what happened last time? I took the one order without completing the first one. Cool, a chiral rodent hat. It calms creatures. Okay.
Oh.
I really need to dig into accessories. Maybe after we connect this next place.
Right?
And it's something I don't understand. Put it on and test it.
Because I've just been wearing the YME hat, which has been fun, but I gotta see what else the game has, you know? All right, now we have the one order. We'll go deliver that.
Yeah, we gotta make our boy Norman Reedus cunty, you know?
Yeah. Actually, honestly, looking at the time and kind of what I would do in the back half, I think right now would be a good time. Oh yeah, because the camera battery's pretty low too. We're gonna swap camera batteries. We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna stand up. We're gonna stretch our skeletons. We're gonna rehydrate, re-tee up, smoke them if you got them. We're gonna do perfectly legal stuff. And then we got a special thing to do when we get back. But ladies and gentlemen, theys and thembies, everybody on all ends of the spectrum.
Techno hotties.
Techno hotties, all of us. We'll be right back. It's break time. Here we are. Folks,
Nice.
this is Martin Luther King Jr.'s A Letter from a Birmingham Jail.
My dear fellow clergymen, while confined here in the Birmingham City Jail, I came across your recent statement calling my present activities unwise and untimely. Seldom do I pause to answer criticism of my work and ideas. If I sought to answer all the criticisms that cross my desk, my secretaries would have little time for anything other than such correspondence
Oh, I need to go get
in the
my
course
controller.
of the
I'll be right
day.
back.
What's that?
And I would
I'll be
have
right
no
back. I get the
time
controller.
for constructive work. But since I feel that you are men of genuine goodwill and that your criticisms are sincerely set forth, I want to try to answer your statement in what I hope will be patient and reasonable terms. I think I should indicate why I am here in Birmingham, since you have been influenced by the view which argues against outsiders coming in. I have the honor of serving as president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, an organization operating in every southern state with headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. We have some 85 affiliated organizations across the South, and one of them is the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights. Frequently, we share staff, educational and financial resources with our affiliates. Several months ago, the affiliate here in Birmingham asked us to be on call to engage in a nonviolent direct action program, if such were deemed necessary. We readily consented, and when the hour came, we lived up to our promise. So I, along with several members of my staff, am here because I was invited here. I am here because I have organizational ties here. But more basically, I'm in Birmingham because injustice is here. Just as the prophets of the 8th century B.C. left their villages and carried their "thus saith the Lord" far beyond the boundaries of their hometowns, and just as the Apostle Paul left his village of Tarsus and carried the gospel of Jesus Christ to the far corners of the Greco-Roman world, so am I compelled to carry the gospel of freedom beyond my own hometown. Like Paul, I must constantly respond to the Macedonian call for aid. Moreover, I am cognizant of the interrelatedness of all communities and states. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. You deplore the demonstrations taking place in Birmingham, but your statement, I am sorry to say, fails to express a similar concern for the conditions that brought about the demonstrations. I am sure that none of you would want to rest content with a superficial kind of social analysis that deals merely with effects and does not grapple with underlying causes. It is unfortunate that demonstrations taking place in Birmingham, but it is even more unfortunate that the city's white power structure left the Negro community with no alternative. In any nonviolent campaign, there are 4 basic steps. collection of the facts to determine whether injustices
Did that fuck
exist,
with your audio now?
It's louder, but
negotiation,
like in a good way.
self-purification,
I wasn't aware of what I was
and
missing
direct
out.
action.
Yeah, see, I was like, I can
We have
barely
gone
hear what's
through all
being said.
these steps in Birmingham. There can be no gainsaying the fact that racial injustice engulfs this community. Birmingham is probably the most thoroughly segregated city in the United States. Its ugly record of brutality is widely known. Negroes have experienced grossly unjust treatment in the court. There have been more unsolved bombings of Negro homes and churches in Birmingham than in any other city in the nation. These are the hard, brutal facts of the case. On the basis of these conditions, Negro leaders sought to negotiate with the city fathers, but the latter consistently refused to engage in good faith negotiations. Then last September came the opportunity to talk with leaders of Birmingham's economic community. In the course of the negotiations, certain promises were made by the merchants. For example, to remove the store's humiliating racial signs. On the basis of these promises, the Reverend Fred Shuttleworth and the leaders of the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights agreed to a moratorium on all demonstrations. As the weeks and months went by, we realized that we were the victims of a broken promise. A few signs briefly removed,
I do want to catch a Pokemon,
returned.
actually.
The others remained. As in so many past experiences, our hopes had been blasted, and the shadow of deep disappointment settled upon us. We had no alternative except to prepare for direct action, whereby we would present our bare bodies as a means of laying our case before the conscience of the local and the national community. Mindful of the difficulties involved, we decided to undertake a process of self-purification. We began a series of workshops on nonviolence, and we repeatedly asked ourselves, are you able to accept blows without retaliating? Are you able to endure the ordeal of jail? We decided to schedule our direct action program for the Easter season, realizing that except for Christmas, this is the main shopping period of the year. Knowing that his strong economic withdrawal program would be the byproduct of direct action, we felt that this would be the best time to bring pressure to bear on the merchants for the needed change.
Damn right.
Then it occurred to us that Birmingham's mayoral election was coming up in March, and we speedily decided to postpone action until after election day, when we discovered that the Commissioner of Public Safety, Eugene Bull Connor, had piled up enough votes to be in the runoff. We decided again to postpone action until the day after the runoff so that the demonstrations could not be used to cloud the issues. Like many others, we waited to see Mr. Connor defeated, and to this end we endured postponement after postponement. Having aided in this community need, we felt that our direct action program could be delayed no longer. You may well ask, why direct action? Why sit-ins, marches, and so forth? Isn't negotiation a better path? You're quite right in calling for negotiation. Indeed, this is the very purpose of direct action. Nonviolent direct action seeks to create such a crisis and foster such a tension that a community which has constantly refused to negotiate is forced to confront the issue. It seeks so to dramatize the issue that it can no longer be ignored. My citing the creation of tension as part of the work of the nonviolent resistor may
I do think this is more
shocking,
necessary than waiting to vote
but
at
I
this
must
moment.
confess that I am not afraid of the word tension. I
don't think we're in like a
opposed
tenable or
violent
sustainable
tension.
situation.
But that is a type of
There needs to be
non-violent tension
addresses
which
made.
is necessary for growth. Just as Socrates felt that it was necessary to create a tension in the mind so that individuals could rise from the bondage of myths and half-truths to the unfettered realm of creative analysis and objective appraisal, so must we see the need for non-violent gadflies to create the kind of tension in society that will help men rise from the dark depths of prejudice and racism to the majestic heights of understanding and brotherhood. The purpose of our direct action program is to create a situation so crisis-packed that it will inevitably open the door to negotiation. I therefore concur with you in your call for negotiation. Too long has our beloved Southland been bogged down in a tragic effort to live in monologue rather than dialogue. My friends, I must say to you that we have not made a single gain in civil rights without determined legal and nonviolent pressure. Lamentably, it is an historical fact that privileged groups seldom give up their privileges voluntarily. Individuals may see the moral light and voluntarily give up their unjust posture. But as Reinhold Niebuhr has reminded,
I want to pause this for a moment just to bring up what he's saying here about, you know, voluntarily privileges are never like surrendered or rarely surrendered or rights. Because when you think about it, isn't the romance of the whole American historical mythology, not the reality, but the romance of the mythology hinges so much on like, we did things intelligently and non-violently, and through a regimented and bureaucratic process that we came to through a series of amended and ongoing, like, living document ideas about what our legal corpus is. Like, the whole American project is so radical or righteous, allegedly, in like the mythology of America, because it wasn't like, oh, we had to behead the king. No, we have amendments, we have a constitution, we have representation for our taxation, allegedly. Those are the ideals we romanticize when we talk about it, and yet, well, you see what's going on here. You know what I'm talking about. Let's let Dr. King speak more.
Minded us. Groups tend to be more immoral than individuals. We know through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. Frankly, I have yet to engage in a direct action campaign
allegedly all men are created equal.
Timed in the view of those who have not suffered unduly from the disease of segregation. For years now, I have heard the word wait. It rings in the ear of every Negro with piercing familiarity. This wait has almost always meant never. We must come to see with one of our distinguished jurists that justice too long delayed is justice denied.
Yeah.
We have waited for more than 340 years for our constitutional and God-given rights. The nations of Asia and Africa are moving with jet-like speed toward gaining political independence, but we still creep at horse and buggy pace toward gaining a cup of coffee at a lunch counter. Perhaps it is easy for those
It just
who have
seems so
never
stupid to
felt
be
the
for a
stings of
business to be
segregation
segregationist as well.
to say
Yeah.
wait. But when you have
What up,
seen
L-Man?
And
vicious
even like
mobs
fundamentally on a money
lynch
standpoint,
your
you're just like,
mothers and
these
fathers
are
at will,
people with money.
and
Why
drown
are you
your
so
sisters
fucking
and brothers at
stupid?
whim,
Like,
when you have seen hate-filled policemen
sorry, my dad has
curse,
magical underwear.
kick, and even
can't,
kill
like,
your
find people.
black
Like,
brothers
what?
and sisters, when you see the vast majority of your 20 million Negro brothers smothering in an airtight cage of poverty in the midst of an affluent society, when you suddenly find your tongue twisted and your speech stammering as you seek to explain to your 6-year-old daughter why she can't go to the public amusement park that has just been advertised on television, and see tears welling up in her eyes when she is told that Funtown is closed to colored children, and see ominous clouds of inferiority beginning to form in her little mental sky, and see her beginning to distort her personality by developing an unconscious bitterness toward white people, and you have to concoct an answer for a 5-year-old son who is asking, Daddy, why do white people treat colored people so mean? And you take a cross-country drive and find it necessary to sleep night
Yeah, what am I
after
supposed to tell
night
my kids at that?
in the uncomfortable corners of your automobile because no motel will accept you, and you are humiliated day in and day out by nagging signs reading white and colored, and your first name becomes nigger. Your middle name becomes boy, however old you are, and your last name becomes John.
I'm assuming
Your wife
everybody
and
here is
mother are
cool
never
and
given
nobody's
the
going to tell
respect
Twitch
the
about
title
this.
is.
Don't be a
You are
narc,
held by
folks.
day and haunted by night by the fact that you are a Negro, living constantly at tiptoe stands, never quite knowing what to expect next, and are plagued with inner fears and
Yeah,
outer
exactly,
resentment.
Sleepy Zane.
And you are forever fighting a degrading and degenerating sense of nobodiness. Then you will understand
A degrading
why
sense
we
of
find it
nobodiness. God
difficult to
damn.
wait. There comes a time when the cup of endurance runs over, and men are no longer willing to be plunged into the abyss of despair. I hope, sirs, you can understand our legitimate and unavoidable impatience. You express a great deal of anxiety over our willingness to break laws. This is certainly a legitimate concern, since we so diligently urge people to obey the Supreme Court's decision of 1954 outlawing segregation in the public schools. At first glance, it may seem rather paradoxical for us consciously to break laws. One may well ask, how can you advocate breaking some laws and obeying others? The answer lies in the fact that there are two types of laws, just and unjust. I would be the first to advocate obeying just laws. One has not only a legal but a moral responsibility to obey just laws. Conversely, one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. I would agree with St. Augustine that an unjust law is no law at all. Now, what is the difference between the two? How does one determine whether the law is just or unjust? A just law is a man-made code that squares with the moral law or the law of God. An unjust law is a code that is out of harmony with the moral law. To put it in the terms of St. Thomas Aquinas, an unjust law is a human law that is not rooted in eternal and natural law. Any law that uplifts human personality is just. Any law that degrades human personality is unjust. All segregation statutes are unjust because segregation distorts the soul and damages the personality.
Yeah, why do
It
you
gives
even
the
need that,
segregator
honestly?
a false sense
The
of
teleology of that
superiority,
separation, like
and
what
the
does it overall
segregated
serve
a false
besides
sense of
keeping
inferiority.
the underclass at each other's throats so
Segregation, to
labor
use
stays
the
cheap?
terminology of the Jewish philosopher Martin Buber, substitutes an I-it relationship for an I-thou relationship and ends up relegating persons to the status of things. Hence, segregation is not only politically,
Just bad
economically,
vibes, yeah.
and sociologically unsound, it is morally wrong and sinful. Paul Tillich has said that sin is separation, is not segregation, an existential expression of man's tragic separation, his awful estrangement, his terrible sinfulness. Thus, it is that I can urge men to obey the 1954 decision of the Supreme Court, for it is morally right, and I can urge them to disobey segregation ordinances, for they are morally wrong. Let us consider the more concrete expression of just and unjust laws. An unjust law is a code that a numerical or power majority group compels a minority group to obey, but does not make binding on itself. This is difference made legal. But by the same token, a just law is a code that a majority compels a minority to follow, and that is, it is willing to follow itself. This is sameness made legal. Let me give another explanation. A law is unjust if it is inflicted on a minority that as a result of being denied the right to vote had no part in enacting or devising the law. Who can say that the legislature of Alabama, which set up that state's segregation laws, was democratically elected? Throughout Alabama, all sorts of devious methods are used to prevent Negroes from becoming registered voters. And there are some counties in which, even though Negroes constitute a majority of the population, not a single Negro is registered. Can any law enacted under such circumstances be considered democratically structured? Sometimes a law is just on its face and unjust in its application. I hope you are able to see the distinction I am trying to point out. In no sense do I advocate evading or defying the law, as would the rabid segregationists. That would lead to anarchy. One who breaks an unjust law must do so openly, lovingly, and with a willingness to accept the penalty. I submit that an individual who breaks a law that conscience tells him is unjust, and who willingly accepts the penalty of imprisonment in order to arouse the conscience of the community over its injustice, is in reality expressing the highest respect for law. Of course, that is nothing new about this kind of civil disobedience. It was evidenced sublimely in the refusal of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to obey the laws of Nebuchadnezzar on the ground that a higher moral law was at stake. It was practiced superbly by the early Christians who were willing to face hungry lions and the excruciating pain of chopping.
I don't want to pause this for too long, but Sleepy Zane, yeah, you are talking about, he's describing Jesus. He's doing very good to describe both a historical lineage and a direct kind of like observable like phenomenon of like evil and bad and what is wrong.
Yeah.
And think about that in comparison to the way right-wingers just like, oh, ICE is getting the bad guys. You know, there's just bad guys. There's bad things just happen because there's just bad guys.
Top Gun.
Oh yeah, Top Gun.
Enemy.
There's
Top
the
Gun.
enemy. Oh boy.
Oh no, not the enemy.
There's nothing wrong with us. It's all about them.
Yeah, the bad guy.
The bad guys.
You know, the ones who did the bad stuff that we don't like.
Also, I'm loving this Pokemon mechanic. I kind of wish I hadn't done it during this Birmingham jail bit because I do like this like kaiju music that's playing in the score. When I summon the Octopoid, there's like a bit of a traditional like Showa era kind of kaiju Ikefube score going on that I find very interesting. But let's continue on the letter.
In blocks, rather than submit to certain unjust laws of the Roman Empire. To a degree, academic freedom is a reality today because Socrates practiced civil disobedience. In our own nation, the Boston Tea Party represented a massive act of civil disobedience.
No, that was legal.
We should never forget that everything Adolf Hitler did in Germany was legal.
Yep.
And everything the Hungarian freedom fighters did in Hungary was illegal. It was illegal to aid and comfort a Jew in Hitler's Germany. Even so, I am sure that had I lived in Germany at the time, I would have aided and comforted my Jewish brothers. If today I lived in a communist country where certain principles dear to the Christian faith are suppressed, I would openly advocate disobeying that country's anti-religious laws. I must make two honest confessions to you, my Christian and Jewish brothers. First, I must confess that over the past few years I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension.
Yeah, man, Walgreens has insurance money. I don't give a fuck if they're keeping
which is the presence of justice.
I fucking
who
paid for that
constantly
insurance
says,
too.
I agree with you on the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action. Who paternalistically
Small dick
believes
Clannergy.
he can set the timetable
My people
for
were
another
enslaved
man's
too. Yeah,
freedom.
they also got
Who
fast tracked
lives
to
by
being
mythical
cops to the point where it's a
concept of
fucking
time.
stereotype.
And
Like,
who
how do you sell out
constantly
that hard
advises the
generationally?
Negro to wait for a more
You know what?
convenient
You
season.
fucking cup the balls and struck the
Shallow
shaft. You move up and see
understanding
some
from people
places.
of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. I had hoped that the white moderate would understand that law and order exists for the purpose of establishing justice, and that when they fail in this purpose, they become the dangerously structured dams that block the flow of social progress. I had hoped that white moderates would understand that the present tension in the South is a necessary phase of the transition from an obnoxious negative peace in which the Negro passively accepted his unjust plight to a substantive and positive peace in which all men will respect the dignity and
yes,
worth
Golden Drake,
of
totally
human
agree.
personality. Actually,
Obama's
we
very
engage in
much the
nonviolent
crystallization of at
action
least 2 decades
are
of
not the creators
model
of tension.
minority kind of
We
neoliberal
merely
cultural
bring to the
conditioning.
surface the hidden tension that is already alive.
A tension I feel very
We bring
close
it out in the
myself, being
open
mixed
where it
race
can be
and from a
seen
place
and
where
dealt
that
with.
kind of striver mentality is
Like a
really
ball
pressed
that
upon
can
you to
never
be
be
like the
cured.
good Latino.
That's
so long
wild.
as it is covered up, but must be open with all its ugliness to the natural medicines of air and light.
The hardworking
Injustice
Mexican.
must be exposed with all the tension.
Don't
its
throw me away,
exposure
I'm
creates.
valuable.
Yeah.
The light of human conscience and the air of national opinion before it can be cured. In your statement, you assert that our actions, even though peaceful, must be condemned because they precipitate violence. But is this a logical assertion? Isn't this like condemning a robbed man because his possession of money precipitated the evil act of robbery? Isn't this like condemning Socrates because his unswerving commitment to truth and his philosophical inquiries precipitated the act by the misguided populace in which they made him drink hemlock? Isn't this like condemning Jesus because his unique God consciousness and never ceasing devotion to God's will precipitated the evil act of crucifixion? We must come to see that as the federal courts have consistently affirmed, it is wrong to urge an individual to cease his efforts to gain his basic constitutional rights because the quest may precipitate violence. Society must protect the...
Mask for mask. In short, yes. There's actually something insightful I think FD Signifier brings up in his immediate like post-2024 election coverage, where he basically says a lot of them want to be white, and I have a general sense of that. I'll say more of that later. I'm going to continue on with the letter, but I just wanted to pause to say, yeah, there's a bit of a crap bucket performing for the observer mentality stuff going on there. It's something I've been around because, like, okay, if you're familiar with the sitcom This Fool, or if you haven't heard of the sitcom This Fool, I strongly urge you to check out the sitcom This Fool. It's about a Latino dude in LA. His cousin's a convict who just got released, and they like work at like a reform center. It's very like slice of life, pretty fun. But there's one part he brings up where his mother, the mother character, really loves Ronald Reagan because Ronald Reagan naturalized a lot of Mexican migrants. This is something. I don't know what the Republican feelings on this are currently. I guess they would hate it given...
Yeah, they just don't talk about it.
Yeah, they just don't talk about it anymore. But Reagan granted amnesty to a lot of like illegal migrants in the 80s, and he won over a large block of Latinos that way. You also see like in the culture, like right-wing think tanks and other organizations did cater to this like new Latino American identity. There was very much a conservative want to grab the Latinos before like the Democrats did in some ways. So that's where a lot of this like hardworking Mexican like I'm just trying to like do my thing. I don't need to get into like the whole racial wars of this all. I'm just here to earn my keep kind of like, yeah, that sort of pops up in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue on with this stuff.
Yeah, and Sleepy Zane, even as an American who's lived in the class, I don't understand class in America.
The robber. I had also hoped that the white moderate would reject the myth concerning time in relation to the struggle for freedom. More and more, I feel that the people of ill will have used...
Real quick, one last thing on that note. It's interesting to me in cinema. So, you have, at the beginning of the 80s into the early 90s, you have an actual push for, with the rise of independent cinema, you start getting like Boys in the Hood and like Menace to Society and like My Vida Loca. you know, Zoot Suit, Stand to Deliver, The Rise of Edward James Olmos. There's an interesting rise in minorities being given opportunities to make wider or like larger received cultural objects. But that kind of stops because it's two things. There's a sense of like, okay, we've given them enough. This is the same thing with like girl power movies in the 90s. After a point, like corporations get like, okay, we've given them enough, time to go back to making like Spider-Man, Fight Club, etc. Which, you know, were things that were slated for production before 9/11. But the second thing is 9/11. 9/11 kind of fast-tracked or accelerated what was kind of happening with that already.
Yeah. 9/11 really did us in bad.
Time much more effectively than have the
Hell
people
yeah,
of goodwill.
Mask for Mask. You talking about
We will
Babylon
have to
5?
repent
That's
in
the
this
J. Michael
generation,
Straczynski show, correct?
Not merely for the hateful words and actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people. Human
Damn right.
progress never rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts of men willing to be co-workers with God. And without this hard work, time itself
Nice, got that
becomes
grenade
an
launcher.
ally of the forces of social stagnation. We must use time creatively in the knowledge that the time is always
Yeah, that was in the
right
first game too.
to do right. Now is the time to make real the promise of democracy and transform our pending national elegy into a creative psalm of brotherhood. Now is the time to lift our national policy from the quicksand of racial injustice to the solid rock of human dignity. You speak of our activity in Birmingham as extreme. At first I was rather disappointed that fellow clergymen would see my nonviolent efforts as though, and it comes perilously. One is a force of complacency, made up in part of Negroes who, as a result of long years of oppression, are so drained of self-respect and a sense of somebodyness that they have adjusted to segregation, and in part of a few middle-class Negroes who, because of a degree of academic and economic security, because in some ways they profit by segregation, have become insensitive to the problems of the masses. The other force is one of bitterness and hatred, and it comes perilously
an economic
close to advocating
byproduct.
violence. It is expressed in the various black nationalist groups that are springing up across the nation, nourished by the Negro's frustration over the continued existence of racial discrimination. This movement is made up of people who have lost faith in America, who have absolutely repudiated Christianity, and who have concluded that the white man is an incorrigible devil. I have tried to stand between these two forces, saying that we need emulate neither the do-nothingism of the complacent nor the hatred and despair of the black nationalists. For that is a more excellent way of love than nonviolent protest. I'm grateful to God that through the influence of the Negro Church, the way of nonviolence became an integral part of our struggle. If this philosophy had not emerged, by now the hatred and despair of the black nationalists. For that is a more excellent way of love than nonviolent protest. I'm grateful to God that through the influence of the Negro Church, the way of nonviolence became an integral part of our struggle. If this philosophy had not emerged, by now many streets of the South would, I am convinced, be flowing with blood. And I am further convinced that if our white brothers dismiss as rabble-rousers and outside agitators those of us who employ nonviolent direct action, and if they refuse to support our nonviolent efforts, millions of Negroes will, out of frustration and despair, seek solace and security in black nationalist ideologies, a development that would inevitably lead to a frightening racial nightmare. Oppressed people cannot remain depressed forever. The yearning for freedom eventually manifests itself, and that is what has happened to the American Negro. Something within has reminded him of his birthright of freedom, and something without has reminded him that it can be gained. Consciously or unconsciously, he has been caught up by the spirit of the times, and with his black brothers of Africa and his brown and yellow brothers of Asia, South America, and the Caribbean, the United States Negro is moving with a sense of great urgency toward the promised land of racial justice. If one recognizes this vital urge that has engulfed the Negro community, one should readily understand why public demonstrations are taking place. The Negro has many pent-up resentments and latent frustrations, and he must release them. So let him march. Let him make prayer pilgrimages to the city hall. Let him go on freedom rides and try to understand why he must do so. If his repressed emotions are not released in non-violent ways, they will seek expression through violence. This is not a threat, but a fact of history. So I have not said to my people, get rid of your discontent. Rather, I have tried to say that this normal and healthy discontent can be channeled into the creative outlet of nonviolent direct action. And now this approach is being termed extremist. But though I was initially disappointed at being categorized as an extremist, as I continued to think about the matter, I gradually gained a measure of satisfaction from the label. Was not Jesus an extremist for love? Love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Was not Amos an extremist for justice? Let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream. Was not Paul an extremist for the Christian gospel? I bear in my body the marks of the Lord Jesus Christ. Was not Martin Luther an extremist? Here I stand, I cannot do otherwise, so help me God. Was not John Bunyan an extremist? I will stay in jail to the end of my days before I make a butchery of my conscience. And Abraham Lincoln, this nation cannot survive half slave and half free. And Thomas Jefferson, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. So the question is not whether we will be extremists, but what kind of extremists we will be. Will we be extremists for hate or for love? Will we be extremists for the preservation of injustice or for the extension of justice? In that dramatic scene on Calvary's Hill, 3 men were crucified. We must never forget that all 3 were crucified for the same crime, the crime of extremism. 2 were extremists for immorality, and thus fell below that environment. The other, Jesus Christ, was an extremist for love, truth, and goodness, and thereby rose above his environment. Perhaps the South, the nation, and the world are in dire need of creative extremists. I had hoped that the white moderate would see this need. Perhaps I was too optimistic. Perhaps I expected too much. I suppose I should have realized that few members of the oppressor race can understand the deep groans and passionate yearnings of the oppressed race, and still fewer have the vision to see that injustice must be rooted out by strong, persistent, and determined action. Let me take note of my other major disappointment. I have been so greatly disappointed with the white church and its leadership. Of course, there are some notable exceptions, and I'm not unmindful of these. But despite these notable exceptions, I must honestly reiterate that I have been disappointed with the church. I do not say this as one of those negative critics who can always find something wrong with the church. I say this as a minister of the gospel who loves the church, who was nurtured in its bosom, who has been sustained by its spiritual blessings, and who will remain true to it as long as the cords of life shall lengthen. When I was suddenly catapulted into the leadership of the bus protest in Montgomery, Alabama a few years ago, I felt we would be supported by the white church. But this never came through. All too many ministers found themselves more cautious than courageous and remained silent behind the safe security of stained glass windows. In spite of my shattered dreams, I came to Birmingham with the hope that the white religious leadership of this community would see the justice of our cause and with deep moral concern would serve as a channel through which our just grievances could reach the power structure. I had hoped that each of you would understand, but again I have been disappointed. I've heard numerous southern religious leaders admonish their worshipers to comply with a desegregation decision because it is the law. But I have longed to hear white ministers declare, follow this decree because integration is morally right and because the Negro is your brother. In the midst of blatant injustices inflicted upon the Negro, I have watched white churchmen stand on the sideline and mouth pious irrelevances and sanctimonious trivialities. In the midst of a mighty struggle to rid our nation of racial and economic injustice, I have heard many ministers say those are social issues with which the gospel has no concern. I have traveled the length and breadth of Alabama, Mississippi, and all the other southern states on sweltering summer days and crisp autumn mornings. I have looked at the South's beautiful churches with their lofty spires pointing heavenward. I have beheld the impressive outlines of a massive religious education buildings. Over and over, I have found myself asking, what kind of people worship here? Who is their God? Where were their voices when the lips of Governor Bonnet dripped with words of interposition and nullification? Where were they when Governor Wallace gave a clarion call for defiance and hatred? Where were their voices of support and bruised and weary Negro men and women decided to rise from the dark dungeons of complacency to the bright hills of creative protest? Yes, these questions are still in my mind. In deep disappointment, I have wept over the laxity of the church, but be assured that my tears have been tears of love. There can be no disappointment where there is not deep love. Yes, I love the church. How could I do otherwise? I am in the rather unique position of being the son, the grandson, and the great-grandson of preachers. Yes, I see the church as the body of Christ, but oh, how we have blemished and scarred that body through social neglect and through fear of being nonconformists. There was a time when the church was very powerful, and the time when the early Christians rejoiced at being deemed worthy to suffer for what they believe. In those days, the church was not merely a thermometer that recorded the ideas and principles of popular opinion. It was a thermostat that transformed the mores of society.
Wow.
Whenever the early Christians entered a town, the people in power became disturbed and immediately sought to convict the Christians for being disturbers of the peace and outside agitators. But the Christians pressed on in the conviction that they were a colony of heaven, called by God to obey God rather than man, small in number, They were big in commitment. They were too God intoxicated to be astronomically intimidated. Things are different now. So often the contemporary church is a weak, ineffectual voice with an uncertain sound. But the judgment of God is upon the church as never before. If today's church does not recapture the sacrificial spirit of the early church, it will lose its authentic ring and forfeit the loyalty of millions and be dismissed as an irrelevant social club with no meaning for the 20th century. Perhaps
This is making me think of a declining participation in church by Americans, not just as an effect of like, oh, secular culture on TV, but like, what about people who lost faith in their church as they saw decades of bad shit happening that their church chose to just kind of dilly-dally about and not touch or talk about? Like, if they feel there's no actual sense of community or like human care there, why go?
You got to do something. You got to give back. You got to have
once again
parties.
been too optimistic. Is organized religion too inextricably bound to the status quo to save our nation and world? Perhaps I must turn my faith to the inner spiritual church, the church within the church, as a true ecclesia and the hope of the world. But again, I am thankful to God that some noble souls from the ranks of organized religion have broken loose from the paralyzing chains of conformity and joined us as active partners in the struggle for freedom.
Yeah, Mask, I think of, I remember my cousin, he had a real crisis when Trump got elected in 2016 because he had to find a new church.
Torturous rides for freedom.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yes, they have gone to jail with us. Some have been dismissed from their
because
churches.
they liked Trump or they didn't like Trump.
Because they liked Trump and it's like, I'm out.
They have acted in the faith that right
this dude's my dude.
is stronger than evil triumphant. Their
Guys, I came here
witness
because we
has been
say
the
fuck the poor
spiritual
weekly.
soul
Like what?
that has preserved the true meaning of the
I give my money
gospel
to the church,
in
not the
these
poor.
troubled times. They have carved a tunnel of hope through the dark
that is tough.
mountain of despair. I hope the church as a whole will meet the challenge of this decisive hour. But even if the church does not come to the aid of justice, I have no despair about the future. I have no fear about the outcome of our struggle in Birmingham, even if our motives are at present misunderstood. We will reach the goal of freedom in Birmingham and all over the nation.
Jacob,
because the goal of America is freedom.
Yeah, nice.
Abused and scorned though we may be, our destiny is tied up with America's destiny. Before the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth, we were here. Before the pen of Jefferson etched the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence across the pages of history, we were here. For more than 2 centuries, our forebears labored in this country without wages. They made cotton king. They built the homes of their masters while suffering gross injustice and shameful humiliation. And yet out of a bottomless vitality, they continue to thrive and develop. If the inexpressible cruelties of slavery could not stop us,
something that's always wild to me is Loving versus Virginia, the Supreme Court ruling that said interracial marriages are legal and fine.
Because we need that.
1958, like that's the year my parents were born.
Right?
My parents, if not for that case, like my parents couldn't marry, and like it was the year they were born that law passed.
That's wild.
That's so fucking wild to me. Yeah.
Like
Jesus Christ.
My dad's
the
older than that
opposition
too, but like
we
not
now
much.
face will surely fail.
Damn, dude.
We will win
we were
our
allowed during
freedom
gay marriage, so that's
because
like
the sacred heritage of our nation.
Yeah, that's something insane to think about too, because
of
remember
the
Obama
Almighty
and Clinton
God
were both against it.
are embodied in our echoing demands. Never before have I written so long a letter. I'm afraid it is much too long to take your precious time. I can assure you that it would have been much shorter if I had been writing from a comfortable desk. But what else can one do when he is alone in a narrow jail cell other than write
Good
long
thing is
letters,
the mountains are tall and the
think
emperor's
long
far.
thoughts, and pray long prayers? If I have said anything in this letter that overstates the truth and indicates an unreasonable
Dude, they're
impatience,
just destroying everything
I
that's
beg you to
possibly
forgive
good
me.
and made this
If I've said
place worth
anything
living.
So the
that
same way the ghost hunter
understates
had a
the
ghost
truth
hunting mission,
and
this dude seems
indicates
to have
my
some kind
having
of
a
fishing
patience
mission. I'm gonna
that
keep doing
allows me
his
to
stuff.
settle for anything less than brotherhood, I beg God to forgive me. I hope this letter finds you strong in the faith. I also hope that circumstances will soon make it possible for me to meet each of you, not as an integrationist or as a civil rights leader, but as a fellow clergyman and a Christian brother. Let us all hope that the dark clouds of racial prejudice will soon pass away and the deep fog of misunderstanding will be lifted from our fear-drenched communities, and in some not too distant tomorrow, the radiant stars of love and brotherhood will shine over our great nation with all their scintillating beauty. Yours for the cause of peace and brotherhood, Martin Luther King, Jr. Surrender for arrest, and we felt that some things needed to be said to the press, and since it is our understanding that the Birmingham police officials will be on the plane with us and we'll be arrested before we get on the ground, we felt that we should have the press conference here. This is the Reverend Wyatt T. Walker, who is pastor of the Canaan Baptist Church of New York City and an aide to Governor Rockefeller. He was the executive director of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference at the time of our arrest in Alabama in 1963 for violating what we considered an unjust and illegal injunction. The Reverend Ralph Abernathy is the other person who will be going in. He has been for many years my closest associate in this struggle. We shared many jails together, so this is not a new experience for us. He is the vice president and treasurer of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And then Reverend A.D. King, who is the other person who will be arrested at that time, was pastoring the First Baptist Church in Birmingham and Inslee. And he is now the pastor of the Zion Baptist Church of Louisville, Kentucky. We will be going in together. Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth has already served his 5 days, I should say 4 days, because they let them out a little early. And right behind us, or to the right and the left, are Mrs. King, my wife, and Mrs. Abernathy, the wife of Reverend Abernathy, and this is my little son, Dexter. I'm going to read a brief statement, and then you may feel free to ask me or any of the others whatever questions you may have. I'm laboring with a very bad cold, so if my voice gives out a little, you'll understand that. It is with mixed emotions that I return to Birmingham to serve this 5-day sentence for insisting upon our right to peacefully protest the brutal and unconstitutional treatment of Negroes in that city. I'm happy to serve this 5-day sentence, as I have been happy to enter the jails for the freedom of my people on many occasions. Certainly 5 days in jail is a small price to pay for the unity which came to our nation in the March on Washington, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the events which led to an end to Southern legal segregation, all of which grew out of the Birmingham movement. But I'm sad that the Supreme Court of our land, in a 5-4 decision, could not uphold the rights of individual citizens in the face of deliberate use of the courts of the state of Alabama as a means of oppression. I am disturbed that 4 years after the heroic efforts of thousands of young people and adults in Birmingham, our country finds itself still in a moral stalemate where the rights of the Negro are concerned. I am appalled that the great resources of our nation are being used in a military intervention 12,000 miles away rather than in the heart of our cities.
Agree, Captain Kramer.
I reach the borders of despair when I see our
I have something to
Congress
say about
turning a
that,
deaf
but I'll wait
ear
till the
to our
end.
nation's poor and playing politics with the war on poverty. Perhaps these 5 days will afford all of us an opportunity for a more intense and serious evaluation of our situation. For all the signs of our time indicate that this is a dark hour in the life of America. Our jailing is but symptomatic of the ominous clouds which overshadow our national destiny. I pray that God may grant us new wisdom and courage to act upon the wisdom which we already possess. There's a longer statement that you have which gives a little more of the factual background, and I will not bother to read that. Yes, sir.
Demonstrations have been promised during the time of your confinement. Do you think such demonstrations are warranted, and will you encourage the demonstrations in Birmingham?
Well, I don't have absolute control of this situation, but I have discouraged any kind of massive demonstrations. Understandably, there are those who feel that something massive should be done because we all suffered in that movement together. And it is our feeling that if the leaders are sent to jail, everybody else ought to go and serve the time also. But even in spite of this, I have discouraged massive demonstrations. There may be vigils in order to make a witness and to express support. But as far as massive demonstrations, I have discouraged this. I can't promise that they won't take place because I'll be in jail, but I haven't encouraged it.
What do you plan to do during the 5-day period, Dr. King? How do you plan to pass time, and will you do any writing specifically?
Well, I'm not sure about that. Writing for me always grows out of an inner feeling of a need to do it. And if I'm in the spirit to write, I will certainly do that. The last time I was in Birmingham, I wrote a letter from the Birmingham jail, which was pretty widely publicized, over 1 million copies. And it may be that I'll find myself writing another letter from the jail. The other thing is that I'm way behind in my reading, and I hope the officials will not deprive me of the opportunity of reading some of the books that I'm carrying along. So I would say mainly I will be reflecting, meditating, reading, and probably writing a little bit.
To whom are you likely to write a letter?
And that's where it ends for tonight. That was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail being read with some kind of interview commentary at the end there.
Yeah.
Captain Quasar, you said you think Americans understand class dynamics, but only in regards to themselves, and that's why it's always, why are these people getting help and not me? Even if they do get benefits, it gives other people shit for getting it. It's a mix of program thinking and just human nature. The just human nature part, I think there's a lot of work that goes into making us think like this is the natural order and way of things.
Yeah.
But all that aside, we're going to be wrapping up tonight, and I just want to say one more thing. If we're all becoming renters, if we're all going down this path of like, you're not going to own everything, everything's a subscription service, everything's a rental, everything's temporary, it's good for you because then you don't have to worry about holding on to things. You don't need a lot of storage space. You don't need to worry about licensing and all that. Just rent. If they want us to like own nothing and just the only thing we accrue is debt, what do we have to lose, really? I mean, you know, the moderates MLK was talking about back in the day, they were being given houses and homes, and so, material wealth and some sort of optimism in the American project. And so, let's say you're not an altruistic person. Let's say you don't believe in any of the kumbaya humanity stuff. Maybe you think it's all hippie nonsense bullshit. In your pure zero-sum market brain, just like the current system's shafting you, is it not? Is it not something where I mean, under the current regime, you own nothing but debt. What is worth holding on to in this current ecosystem is just something I wonder, something I ask. Yeah, you don't need to create, just consume. If the only thing you're fed is stuff you just do nothing but hate watch and complain and bitch about. If your Marvel and your Star Wars is too woke, like, that's not because of someone writing a fan fiction. That is because the corporate machine has decided it's going to abuse your addiction to Star Wars and churn out shitty Star Wars products every year because they know you're going to pay that fee. They just
algorithm
know it.
tells them.
They don't care that Boba Fett was a train wreck. They care that you paid the Disney Plus subscription. Anyways,
No, they love me. Disney loves me.
y'all have a good night. Y'all take care. This is Technopoverty. I haven't mentioned it, but on the Discord next week, this Sunday, we're either going to watch The Postman or Ghost in the Shell. I have not decided yet.
Wild choice.
Yeah, wild choices.
What a coin.
But y'all have a good night. Take care. Love each other. If you can contribute materially or just voluntarily to your local mutual aid projects, any kind of immigrant legal defense fund or general legal defense fund, any kind of bail bond, any kind of food distribution group. I really do hate to say you have to search out and do your research locally, but I mean, I don't think there's a federal way to do this. I think this is a ground up thing, and I mean, this came up on the Discord earlier today. I just shout out here at the end of the episode. Anand Giridharadas. He wrote a book called Winners Take All about the nonprofit industrial complex and how just the nonprofit system in the market, sadly, it's not going to save us. We do need to rethink and reconstitute what our national system of governance is and what it can do for us as people.
The NFL is a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Just remember that.
Wait, what?
The NFL is a nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
Just know that. You know, football, famously, the people that donate all the money to the football people.
And you know football players come out the best. All right. Y'all take care. Lux will be with us tomorrow, I believe. If not, we'll probably still be playing Death Stranding. Yeah. It's been very volatile and hectic, but we'll see you soon. Y'all take care. Stay safe out there.
Night, Techno Hotties.
Good night, Techno Hotties.
Forward kisses.